Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're back into the Showdown Team Builder where we're looking at another underused restricted, and we're going to be doing Kyurem-White today. So in our last one like this, we did Ho-Oh, and now we're looking at Kyurem-White, who also has a little bit of potential, even though it's just not very good, okay? But that doesn't mean it's not viable, and it doesn't mean it's not playable. We can make it work here. We do have some options and some tools that we can use to make Kyurem-White at least decent, right? So anytime you're trying to build around a restricted, the first couple things that you have to ask yourself is, what can Kyurem-White give me that is a positive, right? And then from there, how can I make it better? And for my remaining slots on the team, how can I patch up different matchups, for the rest of the meta, especially some of the weaknesses that Kyurem-White has against some of the other restricteds. For example, like a Zamazenta, right? A fighting type. Kyurem obviously is an ice type, so that's something you have to patch up and make yourself, at least have a way, to play against it. You have to consider stuff like, Terrapagos, you are like quote unquote neutral into it, but again, a little bit difficult, especially if it can get some Calm Mind boost. So perhaps maybe like a strong physical fighting type on the team is absolutely necessary, and it will be, okay? But as far as like, looking at it from the outside looking in, look at its stats. Base 170 special attack. Turbo Blaze is a pretty decent ability. The special defense and the HP is actually also pretty solid, and defense not bad either, 90. So it's actually relatively bulky. 95 speed is also pretty decent. You can outspeed base 90s at max speed, for stuff like Kyogre if you want to make it max speed for that reason. But I think, the general consensus is the Assault Vest this time is going to be quite good. And then, in this generation, you do get a defensive boost, when you're in the snow. So I think pretty much, no matter how you want to build the Kyurem, I think the Alolan-Ninetales always has to come, right? And then at the same time, look at this. You're weak to fighting types, but Ninetales is a fairy type with Moonblast, so that's going to be good as well. So just consider that. But the defense boost that you're going to get from Kyurem is quite nice and much appreciated. It's going to let you live a lot of hits now that you also have the weather and the Assault Vest. So the fighting types, you're going to be okay against. Now you do have the quote-unquote double steel weakness, but again, you can alleviate that depending on, whether it's a special attacker, you have the Assault Vest, and then again, you do have the Aurora Veil screen, so you can kind of eat some of these moves even if they are special attack. Super effective. But again, you do have a good matchup into Kyogre, right? Because the Dragon typing is going to help you resist the water moves, the Ice Beam that it has, the electric move it has. And then you have the strong Freeze Dry against the Kyogre. So that's pretty good in itself. You have a 50-50 against the Urshifu, right? The Rapid Strike, because again, Freeze Dry is going to be great against it, but at the same time, the fighting move against you is also very strong, so you can EV it to live it if you have the Veil or the Snow Boost. So just keep that in mind as well. As far as like the double Calyrexes, you're gonna be okay there as well. Just the fact that you have the Assault Vest against the Calyrex Shadow Rider, the Astral Barrages are just not gonna do a whole lot of damage. And then you're gonna win that battle in that sense. Now you do have to worry about, of course, the Draining Kiss, especially after a nasty plot boost. But if you're able to patch that up with, a dark type on your team, for example, like a Chiyu, then the matchup is a little bit better because again, with the Aurora Veil and then, the Chiyu with the Choice Scarf to outspeed the Calyrex is going to be good as well, especially if you can snarl it. That's going to be great. And there's some synergy here with Kyurem and Chiyu just because the Kyurem can do more damage now with the Chiyu on the field, which is really, really nice in that sense, right? And the Chiyu gives you something a little bit into Zamazenta, right? Because you can outspeed it and then just blow it up with a fire type attack if necessary, right? And Kyurem also will have a fire type attack. We have Fusion Flare, which is great, against the Calyrex Ice Rider matchup as well. So you have something to click there in that sense, right? And of course the Ninetales, just giving you snow, so you might as well just go for the Blizzard spam, and you do need something to at least hit other fire types, so I think Earth Power is also necessary on this kind of Kyurem set. And I like this AV Kyurem set because it gives you a lot of different moves for a lot of different matchups. For example, if you need to KO an Incineroar, you can always go for the Earth Power here. That's going to do a lot of damage. May not necessarily kill, but with enough chip damage, maybe you can kill, especially if you have the Chiyu on the field, right? Now, the Ice Rider, like we said, we do have Fusion Flare there, and we're just not going to really care about, the Glacial Lances because we're getting the Snow boost. We have Screens. Kyurem-White resists Ice anyway. Well, not resist, but it's neutral to it, but it's still pretty solid in that sense, so I think we're okay there. Now, the main things are again, the Zamazenta stuff and the Terrapagos. We still need like a strong fighting type here, so I think Urshifu also just makes sense here, especially the Rapid Strike one. And I like Chiyu and Urshifu on the Ninetales Kyurem idea because, one way to really hinder Alolan-Ninetales is to remove the weather and stop you from setting up the Aurora Veil screens. Well, the two common weathers are Chiyu and the Urshifu in terms of like the sun and the rain. So what you can do is lead stuff like Ninetales Urshifu, right? So if they want to change the weather into rain, now that's just going to make your Urshifu do more damage, and you can always repivot the Ninetales later on and bring it back in after you've KO'd their weather setter, right? The same thing like Ninetales Chiyu is also pretty solid if they want to change the weather into, the sun with, Manual Sunny Day, or, maybe have a Miraidon come out here. Then at the same time, you're just making the Chiyu do more damage in the sun, right? So you have the best of both worlds here. And again, like we said, the Urshifu, just the fact that you have Surging Strikes in the rain if they want to change it, as well as close combat against something like Terrapagos is just a useful tool and gives you some way to play that kind of matchup. So I like these four, okay? And then from here, the last couple slots here, again, you just have to consider maybe a Tailwind Trick Room mode, maybe a couple other matchups you have to, consider yourself, trying to patch up there. But what I want to do before I finish off this particular team is I do want to see some previous teams that have been able to use Kyurem relatively decently and have had some results. So this way we can direct the team further, with the last two slots here. And in my opinion, from what I've seen, there's two ways to go about it. All right, so let's take a look at those two ways. Okay, so we're going to look at the LabMouse website here and look at some of the Kyurem-White teams that have been played since the format has begun. And there's some ideas here that I want to point out. But again, there's not a whole lot. Kyurem has obviously struggled. It's just not a very good restricted, but there are some teams that have been able to do well with it. So for example, in the beginning, they had Indianapolis Regionals from Arthur Collier. If you look here, let me make this a little bit bigger. The real selling point was obviously the Mind Lodic, in my opinion, right? Just because it supports the Kyurem relatively well, especially with these coil hypnosis stuff. That's also really solid. But look at this. Again, there's that Assault Vest Freeze Dry set that we were talking about. And then the Ninetales here has Fake Tears, which is really good because now that's going to make the Kyurem do extra damage because, again, with the Assault Vest, you don't have a Life Orb, you don't have a Spec, so sometimes your damage is a little underwhelming. But at the same time, you do have the Urshifu Rapid Strike here, like I mentioned. So just in case, if they want to change the weather into rain, that's really good. But look at this, Indeedee here and Blood Moon Ursaluna. So I like this a lot just because, you have a form of speed control with Trick Room. So you can flip or use that against Tailwind teams, which is really good. And then you have a Trick Room Sweeper in Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is really solid. And again, Kyurem is not super fast as it is. A lot of restrictors, can quote unquote outspeed it. So Kyurem can also function in that Trick Room matchup too. But Blood Moon, again, is really good just because it's a normal type and you can hit the Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is really, really nice. And again, Ninetales Fake Tears with Blood Moon Ursaluna also works relatively well. So you can potentially sweep teams in that way. But again, not only that, you do have terrain control with the Indeedee, so you can change Miraidon electric terrain against it. You can stop priority moves at the same time with psychic terrain. So I do like the Indeedee here very much. And then Helping Hand, of course, Helping Hand, Blizzard, Helping Hand, Hyper Voice or Blood Moon is just going to do a lot of damage. So Arthur, again, day 2 result, 10-4 record, really, really strong. I like this idea. It makes a lot of sense. Then as we go down here to this team from Eddie, he was playing it in another tournament, Sunday Fun Days Tour. Here is the Hyper Offensive route. This is the second way you can decide to play it if you don't want to go to the Trick Room route. But this is Snowscape Tornadus, and you kind of have to put that on Tornadus just because, again, if they want to, send out their Pelipper or another Tornadus with Rain Dance, you're going to need to reset that weather manually, not just always pivot your Ninetales in and out, and Snowscape is the way to do that with Tornadus here. So this is a hyper-aggressive team, with Tailwind stuff, Kyurem under, Kyurem Tornadus leads, set up Snow, then start clicking Blizzards is also really, really solid. You can click Tailwind in that sense as well. You could even do Ninetales Tornadus stuff, just set the Veil, click Tailwind already, and then start going for, hard Ninetales Blizzards. That's also really, really solid. More speed control with Icy Wind, obviously. And then Goldango under Tailwind does a ton of damage with Make It Rain. And then you have the Fire Water Grass Core here with Incineroar and Ogerpon Wellspring, right? So Dragon, Fairy, Steel, Fire, Water, Grass is the idea here. This is another really good, solid Kyurem-White team if you want to go this direction. I think it's also okay. But the one thing I would even consider here is maybe even going Terra Normal Goldango, right? Just to wall out the Calyrex Shadow Rider. I think that's also pretty solid, in my opinion. But overall, pretty cool team. And then over here at 6-3 at Los Angeles, right? So, another decent result, still earning CP. Here's that Chiyu idea that we mentioned, right? So Chiyu with Ninetales Kyurem, again, having them do more damage. There's that Indeedee idea, again, with the Trick Room stuff, but no Blood Moon or Ursaluna. Instead, it's just the Indeedee Iron Crown stuff, with Expanding Force, maybe offering more of a fast mode to the team, but I don't think I would play Iron Crown right now in Regulation G, but at least at this point in Los Angeles, a little bit earlier on, I can kind of understand it. Maybe they just wanted to really use that combination to its fruition. But again, taking away terrain and then at the same time, good hard Expanding Force damage. This is Choice Spec Kyurem, especially Chiyu with Iron Crown is going to help it do more damage. And then, of course, Incineroar for a little bit of support, right? So again, we saw a couple of ideas. You can have the Chiyu stuff. You can have Tornadus, Snowscape, Tailwind ideas, with Kyurem and Ninetales. Or you can go the, I think we could, Arthur's team here. Or you can go like a Blood Moon or Ursaluna route. And again, it's a ground type, right? Because Blood Moon, great into not only just the Shadow Rider, but also pretty good into Miraidon. Because again, you are a ground type. You can hit Miraidon for big damage. And then it's also pretty decent into the Zamazenta if you're able to get your Trick Room up and outspeed it and hit it super hard with a ground type move. Okay. And again, the Urshifu I think is always going to be necessary in my opinion, just because the fighting type coverage that you're going to need into Terrapagos is going to be important, unless you can do like some fake tier shenanigans and weaken its special defense and then just blow it up with something like Kyurem and Ursaluna. Right, so now that we have those ideas, let's go back into the team builder and let's choose a route that we can do with Kyurem-White here. Okay, so I absolutely definitely want the Blood Moon Ursaluna on this team. I think just having a Trick Room mode is going to make a lot of sense. You can easily just do the Indeedee idea the same way Arthur did, but I'm going to vary it up a little bit. Now, again, Indeedee is going to give you the terrain control as well, but I like Farigiraf here. I'm not going to lie, I do like Farigiraf with Blood Moon Ursaluna. I think, again, another normal type for the Calyrex matchup is also pretty solid. And then at the same time, again, you're denying terrain with Armor Tail. You get Helping Hand just like Indeedee. And not only that, you can actually exert a little bit more offensive pressure with the Farigiraf, which the Indeedee can't really do, because I will make this a Throat Spray Hyper Voice set. So we are going to make this, double Hyper Voice ideas with Ursaluna and Farigiraf. I think that's going to be quite good here. So we have a nice solid Trick Room mode here. And these last two slots kind of round out the team relatively well, because what we can do now is, now that we have the Trick Room Farigiraf, we can make this Urshifu rather slow but also rather hard hitting. So I think here we're just going to go Mystic Water, and we're going to give this not a whole lot of speed, almost no speed, but at the same time we're going to make a lot of EVs. We're going to invest a lot of EVs into special defense too. So this way the Urshifu is going to be slower but super hard hitting with Mystic Water. And then, the Ninetales bulk is going to make Urshifu stay in the field for a little bit longer, right? But look at our matchups, right? So we've got screens to mitigate damage. Chiyu, Ursaluna, and Farigiraf, they're going to be good into stuff like both Calyrexes in my opinion, right? The Chiyu Shadow Rider, Kyurem can also decently handle the Ice Rider as well. Urshifu, not bad into Terrapagos, also good against other Pelipper teams that want to change weather into the Ninetales. Blood Moon Ursaluna gives you some that ground typing for the Miraidon stuff. Okay, and then at the same time, you know, with Trick 'em Up, you have something to hit the Zamazenta for super effective damage, and as well as the Chiyu, right? You know, because you are a fire type, Zamazenta is a steel type, and then at the same time, like we said, Urshifu fighting type coverage for Trap Ghost is really good. And then Kyurem, against some of those Kyogre, Wo-Chien, Grimmsnarl teams running around, Kyurem can do okay there. I think Grimmsnarl can give Kyurem a little bit of trouble. But at the same time, I think, you know, just using our Urshifu in that matchup to remove the Grimmsnarl immediately is going to be very, very valuable in essence, right? So, you know, we have a little bit of everything for each type of matchup, which is good. This is kind of how you have to build around a lesser used restricted, trying to patch up different matchups. Now, obviously, again, it's still going to be okay. Like, it's not like super unplayable. Like a team like this is still very, very solid, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to round out this team. We're going to put the rest of the moves, the rest of the EVs. And then I also want to build a second version where we still have these options here. But in terms of the last two, I do want to add Snowscape Tornadus. So this way you can go the hyper offensive route if you want. And then we'll pick a ground type along with Tornadus. And, you know, as far as like a second variant of the team is concerned. All right, but let's go ahead and build this one first. All right, so let's go back here to the Ninetales. So we did the Kyurem here. I do actually like Terra Fairy here. Again, just because you can resist the fighting coverage. I think Fire also makes sense as well, just because, again, neutral damage against fighting type attacks. You resist Fairy now, and you resist Steel, the other two weaknesses that Kyurem has. And neutral, of course, against Dragon as well. So I think Fire is also a very good Terra type if you want to go that direction. But for now, I think Fairy is also pretty decent, just in case, you know, other dragons like Miraidon want to click a dragon type move into Kyurem. We can obviously dodge that with the Terra Fairy here. Ninetales here, we're going to go Terra Ghost here, again, with the fighting move, if it comes down to it. Like Clay Set, make these screens last a little bit longer. I do like Moonblast. I do like Blizzard, right? Make this a very stronger, harder hitting Ninetales, especially with Chiyu on the field and helping out Farigiraf. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then I do like Fake Tears. So no Protect on this Ninetales, which means a little bit more importance in the Terra Ghost here. So Fake Tears, Kyurem is going to do a lot. Fake Tears, Chiyu also going to do a lot. Fake Tears, Blood Moon, Ursaluna is also going to do a lot. And because we have Throat Spray on the Farigiraf, like Fake Tears +1 Throat Spray Farigiraf is also going to do a decent amount of damage. So you have to be aware of that. And I like the synergy that Fake Tears has on the rest of this team, right? Literally 4 special attackers here with the Urshifu being the lone physical one. I think it just makes sense here. Chiyu here, again, just very standard set. Heat Wave, Dark Pulse, Snarl, and Overheat. That is Dark Pulse. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Terra Ghost as well. Yeah, just again, both of these, they don't really have Protect options here. This one will obviously Detect. And then, of course, Aqua Jet here. Terra Water, I think, is just going to be good just for a little bit more extra damage. But again, this is going to be a slower but a harder hitting, bulkier Urshifu just because we do have this Mystic Water and we have the Trick Room option and screens, right? So I like that. Blood Moon, again, also very standard. You know, Life Orb set with Hyper Voice, Blood Moon, and Earth Power, and then simply Protect here. And again, I do like Terra Normal here for a little bit more damage. You can go Ghost here. I think Ghost is also okay, but we don't need like 3 Terra Ghosts. I think a Normal is also pretty solid. Farigiraf here, another one I do like for Terra Fairy, for the dark type stuff. And then at the same time here, Hyper Voice, Shadow Ball, right? So now we can have something to hit the Shadow Rider with, then Helping Hand, and then I do like Trick Room here, right? So, you know, Helping Hand on this one, and then Fake Tears on this one is going to be quite good, right? Farigiraf, Kyurem teams, right? So what you could do is just go for, you know, Trick Room turn 1, and then start clicking, you know, Blizzard Helping Hands, you know, potentially next turn if they let the Kyurem stay on the field, right? But lots of combinations you can do with this 6. I like this 6. I honestly do. I think you can win a lot of the games, you know, just using the combinations that you see here with a lot of this stuff. All right, so I think we've got all our Terras, we've got all our movesets and items. So now let's go and let's start EVing this stuff. Okay, so because we have, you know, the Trick Room stuff, we're not going to make Kyurem fast at all. We're going to have like minimal speed investments. We're still going to go modest, right? You know, just for a lot of special attack damage. But in terms of like speed, I just think this much here, hitting that 120 benchmark is good enough, you know, for our Kyurem here. We don't need like a whole lot of speed. I still would like to outspeed, you know, stuff like Pelipper, obviously. So, you know, I think just going to 120 just makes a little bit of sense. And then after that, you don't really need speed here. We're just gonna go like full on bulk. So decent bulk already, special defense at 100 with the Assault Vest, just a little bit. 12 points there, nice even number to optimize the Assault Vest there, you know, because of a 1.5 boost. Again, we don't want an odd number here because then it's just gonna be a decimal. And anytime you have a decimal, you know, again, that's just gonna be 0.5, which rounds down. You don't want your defenses to round down, right? So you always want that nice solid even number here in your bulk. And then, you know, 170 special attack looks pretty good already. It's not good enough, believe it or not. You're going to need a little bit more. So we can go to a couple bumps here. So here's the first bump here with modest 76. The second one is another 80 EV. So at 156 here, you know, you're going to see more. But overall, again, you can just keep investing. Like I see no reason why you don't want Kyurem to do more damage. So third bump here with 236. Again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon and you're trying to learn how to EV Pokemon and you know you're struggling, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps because they are the most fundamental thing to understand in creating EVs for Pokemon. So if you don't know what they are, comment what are EV bumps and I will respond to you. All right. Now, from here, you still have 224 EVs left in points that you can invest in HP and defense. And very simply, I'm just going to invest it just like this. Again, nice solid even number here with 126 here. Now, I did calc for some bulk, you know, for certain things, and I'm going to show you. And the main thing to understand is the Zamazenta stuff. So 100 HP, 124 defense. Look at body press already. You know, imagine this is the first bump with the Impish nature for Zamazenta, right? Still, it's doing a lot, right? But look what happens when you have the Ninetales Snow. It barely does 50%, right? So, you know, the fact that, you know, I shouldn't say barely, but it almost hits that benchmark there. So 1.2 chance for 2-hit KO. So you can almost guarantee 3-hit KOs here, you know, with body press stuff. So that's really, really cool. Now, at the same time, if it is, you know, a little bit stronger, like let's say Impish 156, okay, body press still barely doing a little bit above 50% there if it can manage to eclipse that mark. And then let's say it gets an iron defense off, so now it's +3. Like body press is still not one-shotting this thing in the snow. Like it's still a very favorable roll in your case, right? And then if you add the screens here, right? So let's add, you know, the Aurora. Oh wait, this was already Aurora Veil. Never mind, I'm silly. Okay, I was wondering, like, wait a minute, why is this thing not doing as much damage as I thought? So if I take, all right, so let me reset this here. Okay, let's go back. Okay, here, yeah, that's pretty good. So just the snow itself is good, right? And again, if you just have the first benchmark here, that's also really nice. Again. You very decently comfortable, right? Decently comfortable. I like this. And again, if it is at that second benchmark, okay, here we are. And then now you add the veil. Okay, now we add the veil. Okay, and look, that's not doing a whole lot of damage. Like this is a Zamazenta here, you know, clicking a strong fighting move here. Body press, again, you know, after an iron defense boost, all right, that's still like a very good roll, you know, with the Snow and the Aurora Veil. And again, you can just simply blow this thing up with Fusion Flare. It's a 2-hit KO if it has, you know, the average investment. But if you have Chiyu on the field, like, it's still going to do so much damage. Chiyu can just absolutely melt Zamazenta. But if you want, like, here's Beats of Bruin, like, again, that's still, like, very, very solid damage against Zamazenta, you know, with the average bulk that it has. So I like this a lot. The same thing that can be said with the Urshifu, you know, regardless if it's, like, you know, rapid or the dark one. Again, close combat here. Again, very, very comfortable in terms of the damage you can take. Now, again, if you have nothing, right, you're just going to get melted, close combat here. But if you just have the snow, then, again, Adamant, close combat Urshifu, you know, at max, it'll do about 80% with this investment there. So that's pretty good. Obviously, the Veil is also going to help you in that sense. Same kind of calc there, 45 to 53%. Very, very good result there that you can imagine. With the Urshifu, right? So I like this a lot. I like that bulk. I think it's very, very good. But yeah, that's my take on Kyurem investment there in terms of the physical defense and accounting for the screens and the snow. All right. Ninetales here, I think just going timid max speed is going to be good. You know, because some of these big sweepers, they're going slower and bulkier. So I think just going max speed here is always going to be solid. I do want to invest a little bit in defense, so I want to get this to about 100. So at least I reach triple digits. Nice, solid, even number for the Veil stuff. So I think that's okay. You know, with the snow boost and all. Then from there, you know, just a little bit of investment here. Not a whole lot. You know, you can just simply do stuff like this and just dump the rest into HP like that. And I think that's already like pretty solid if you want. We don't really need Ninetales to do any kind of damage here. You know, so not too much special attack investments. Just be supportive and stay in the field. Set up the Veil. Be annoying with fake tears. And that's really all we want the Ninetales to do. Chiyu, this is probably going to be the easiest one. I'm just going to go straight 252 modest. This way, you know, 152 investment. Gonna outspeed the 149 Urshifus, which is really good. So yeah, Urshifu here, like we mentioned, it's not gonna have that much speed at all. I think just going to about, again, also 120 here is also pretty good, but even like 119 in that sense is also okay. Again, just the fact that we have Trick Room just makes it so that Urshifu just doesn't really need to have a whole lot investment here. You can even go the other way, go 121, make it 1 point faster than your Kyurem. So I think that's also okay. But if you want to underspeed and go 119, that's also fine. But I do think 236 investment is the way to go. So this way you hit the third bump there. And then from there, you know, 132 has been my go-to just because 192 HP is the optimal number for Rillaboom grassy terrains. If they want to bring a Rillaboom into this matchup, sure. And then from there, just 4 points in defense and dump the rest into special defense like this. And that's really all we want out of our Urshifu. Again, super slow, but, you know, good amount of bulk. You factor in the screens here. I think this is a good Urshifu for a Trick Room team. Blood Moon Ursaluna, I'll keep it standard here. You know, just quiet nature, zero investment. Pretty much just going for the max special attack here with a little bit of Life Orb optimization. 209 is pretty good, and then a tad bit of special defense like this, right? So again, you always want to end with a 9 in your HP anytime you have a Life Orb, so this way you can undercut threshold values, because again, if you look at and read what Life Orb does, you're losing 1/10 of your HP every turn. So imagine this, let's say I had 210 HP, right? I'm taking 210 divided by 10, 21 HP points of damage per turn. But if I undercut the threshold like this, 20.9, it'll round down to 20, okay? So now you're taking 1 less HP damage per turn, and then at the same time, you're maximizing the amount of HP that you can have before you cut the threshold there. So that's always my take with Life Orb. Farigiraf here, so because I do have a Throat Spray offensive set, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it modest here. I want this thing to hit hard and surprise people. So I think just going to the third benchmark here with a ton of HP. Again, going for that 224 Rillaboom number for Grassy Terrain Recovery. 1 point in speed, you know, and then from there, just split up your bulk. 20 points here, 20 points there, and that's really all I want my Farigiraf to do with this kind of set here. So just be super offensive with a ton of HP. Click the occasional, you know, +1 Hyper Voices or +1 Shadow Balls, or just be supportive with Helping Hand. And just let some of these guys do a little bit more damage is, I think, the safe way to go, right? So let's look at this again on the screen here. You know, as far as like a full pace, Kyurem very bulky in terms of like, you know, physical defense. The Salt Vest and the Spidef is also nice. The screens is quite good from the Ninetales. Urshifu also quite good here with this bulk, especially in the 108 Spidef. The Chiyu is pretty standard, as is the Blood Moon, and the Farigiraf has a modest offensive set here. All right, so let's go ahead and test this in some games, and then let's show the alternate build with Snowscape, Tornadus, plus another ground type. All right, so here's our first rain matchup, right? This is a person using Kyogre. So Kyurem looks really, really good here. Look at this. Like even Raging Bolt, and then there's the Ogre Pond Wellspring for some reason, right? So Kyurem looks absolutely good here. Kyurem can hit everything here. Like look at the ice resist. Not even like freeze drivers is not a whole lot going here, and then we have earth power for a lot of different things here. So Kyurem looks absolutely amazing, and so does Trick Room here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lead my Urshifu turn 1 here, And there's the Chiyu. That's very interesting. And then I go Farigiraf, and here is the Urshifu Rapid Strike here. So now what I want to do is just simply set up Trick Room and then just try and go for hard-hitting Surging Strikes. Now, I do make the mistake of going for the Chiyu here. I think anytime you're going against a Tornadus, you want to just remove the Torn and just hit that slot instead. So that was a mistake by me. So he wins that turn, but now I can just go into Ninetales here and just start spamming Hyper Voices and try and set up my Veil here. So there's the Ivy Cudgel coming out there, and there's more Bleak Wind Storm damage, right? So more Hyper Voice stuff, right? And he sends out the Chiyu, so I'm just going to do more damage here. I don't know why he did that, but he wants to preserve the Tornadus, obviously, and he goes for the Ninetales, not wanting me to get up my screen. So that means Farigiraf gets to stay on the field here. And now here's Kyurem under Trick Room. Looks really good. He protects the Ogre Pawn here, but what can he really do? He's going to have to give me the Chiyu here, and +1 Farigiraf with Chiyu on the field is just doing a lot here. And now he goes into the Kyogre. So one more turn of Trick Room. We're going to remove the Ogre Pawn here because he already protected it. He protects the Ogre. Okay, so that means it's probably Mystic Water. It's not Assault Vest or anything like that, which means Freeze Dry is going to do more damage than it would if it was Assault Vest. But now he's just going for like Tailwind Water Spout stuff. But even then, like, he'll remove the Farigiraf here, but Kyurem just kind of eats that. And now we can just go for Freeze Dry and not have to worry about Water Spout anymore, right? So now I just go back into Ursh, and this is very easy. You just go Terra Water, Aqua Jet, Mystic Water in the rain, and that's always going to pick up Kyogre from this range here. And then just simple Freeze Dry into Torn. Look how much we eat that, because again, we have the Assault Vest there. So Kyurem looks really good here in this game as a more of a cleanup duty, but Farigiraf was the star of the show, setting the Trick Room and exerting a ton of pressure with that +1 Hyper Voice. Okay, so this is Eternatus Tornado stuff. So again, he does have potential Sludge Bomb stuff, so that's okay. But we do have Blizzard potential here. Like 1, 2, again, 3 Ice weaknesses, which is really good for Kyurem in essence. So it does have some play here, right? So what I'm gonna do is he's gonna go with Flutter Mane, he's gonna go with the Eternatus. That's okay. I'm going to go with Farigiraf again, trying to set up the Trick Room against the Tailwind stuff, and I'm going to go Ninetales here. So he's going to have to choose stop Trick Room or stop Veil, and I'm going to make him pick. All right, so he's going Moonblast there. He gets the special attack drop, which is not great, and he removes the Ninetales immediately because he is a Life Orb set. So he's going to stop screens, but he doesn't stop Trick Room, right? So now we just go into Blood Moon Ursaluna, and it looks really good here. All right, I'm just going to go straight normal type. He goes Terra Water Eternatus. All right, Hyper Voice, you know, again, did a lot of damage, you know, and I look back on this and I want to have this turned back because I could have, you know, potentially just removed the Eternatus already, or just straight up Blood Moon here with Helping Hand. So that was my mistake there, you know, just not really fully taking advantage of the Trick Room idea. I thought Spread Moon would be good, but this is still winnable, okay? Hyper Voice, again, removing everything here. So Restricted gone, Flutter Mane gone, you know, Kyurem looks okay now. In Trick Room, so let's see what he's got. He's got Insane, and he does have the Urshifu, so that's pretty good, right? We can always Freeze Dry the Ursh here if it's Choice Scarf. It's Fake Out Ursaluna, and from here we do click the Freeze Dry into the Ursh, and it is a Sasher, so that's a little bit rare. You don't normally see it. There's the Close Combat, but you know, it's still good for us because we still have 1 turn of Trick Room. He does protect. And again, Hyper Voice, again, not ideal here. I could have also just blasted this instant here with potential Earth Power, but you know, he targets wrong and he goes for the Kyurem anyway. So now it's just a 2-on-1 here, and the Ursh can't really do anything about this because again, he's just down to 1 Pokemon here. But I definitely could have played this better, especially like in the opening turns where I could have, you know, chose a better move, you know, to take advantage of Trick Room. But in the end, we were still able to pull this one out here. Okay, this is Lunala stuff with Wo-Chien. Again, I like Wo-Chien with a lot of special attackers. Wo-Chien could have even fit here on Kyurem here. I'm not gonna lie, like Kyurem with Grimmsnarl, Kyurem with Wo-Chien and Ninetales, that's very, very bulky. So that may also merit some consideration, right? So he's got Wo-Chien Lunala here. You know, Blizzard might be a little bit difficult just because of Wide Guard shenanigans from that Lunala, but at the end of the day, I have something to hit it with the Blood Moon Ursaluna, and Blood Moon looks really good here. Just because I can hit the Iron Crown, I can hit the Lunala here, I can hit the Incin. So from there, I do also have a Chiyu, which also looks great in this matchup, right? So Ninetales Chiyu is going to be my play here. He's going to go Iron Crown in DD stuff, so that's fine. I have Snarl potential here. I can also go for screens, right? So he's going to have to, again, make a choice, right? There's the Follow Me. Okay, he goes for the Ninetales immediately. So Ninetales not getting KO'd here again, but look at this. That means you don't touch the Chiyu. And that means my Chiyu gets to go for the Snarl stuff. I'm going to go Kyurem right now because, again, he's not going to do as much damage here, right? He goes for Attack and Cutter. Again, does a decent amount of damage, right? But, again, Snarl just removes everything here. And, you know, just the fact that he has this. All right, so now comes in Lunala, which we outspeed. And now comes in the Wo-Chien. Now, he can click Wide Guard if he wants, but I don't think that helps him. So, I'm going to read into that. And again, I'm just going to click Snarl. Anyway, force him to click Wide Guard. But I do also go for Blizzard here. Does a lot into Lunala now that we broke Shadow Shield. And there's the Trick Room. But again, that's still like fine. Because look, I can go into Blood Moon now. Okay. He goes for Pollen Puff, heals his Lunala. And he goes for Moonblast. It does remove the Kyurem. Okay. That's fine. Like Terra Fairy Moonblast does remove Kyurem. But look, now we've got Blood Moon with the Chiyu on the field. And now we just absolutely wipe this Lunala. Okay, and Wo-Chien can't really do anything else except do like Leaf Sheet stuff if it wanted, but it went for Pollen Puff, so that's a mistake. And now we just kind of win, blow this thing up with Overheat, and that's really it. You know, Chiyu just closing it out here. So again, Blood Moon or Ursaluna are very, very valuable on these Kyurem teams for sure. Okay, so I do want to show the alternate version where we do go for the Snowscape Tornadus stuff. So again, the kind of moveset that I want to do obviously is, you know, Tailwind, Bleak Wind Storm, Snowscape, and Taunt here. So I think Taunt with the rather slow Tornadus is going to be good. So this way, if we're going against another Tornadus, we can deny their weather, or our weather will go after theirs, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Covert Cloak, Terra Steel obviously will be my play here, just because again, I don't want to get any speed traps or any of that shenanigans, or faked out in that sense, right? But super bulky Calm Set will be the way I want to go here. So 252 HP, Calm Nature, you know, going to the first bump here with 76 investments are already okay. Then we just have 1 point in special attack and dump the rest into defense here. So again, super bulky Torn, right? And again, manual Snowscape, you know, for the Kyurem is also going to be solid. And then again, the ground typing is going to be important. I do think Landers just makes sense here. So, you know, like, it's also pretty common. Like you saw it in the other team, you know, ground ice coverage is quite good. Okay. It covers ground, covers for a lot of things that ice can't really hit. So like ice can't really hit fire, ice can't really hit steel, but ground can. So, you know, you always want like some kind of ground coverage with potential offensive ice type here, at least in my opinion, right? But anyway, Life Orb, Sheer Force, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, Substitute, and then Protect. So now this will give you some play into some Trick Room games, because you can set up screens and go for Substitute turn 1 and kind of just stall it out by mitigating all that damage and then alternating Sub and Protects. So I do like this a lot. And then anytime you're gonna have that Ninetales and Landorus idea, you're gonna have to either choose like stop screens or stop sub, and then Landorus behind sub is just gonna do a lot of damage here. I think Terra Poison is also gonna be solid here, but just straight 2v2, 2v2 is also gonna be good. Again, just being able to outspeed Chiyu is also very beneficial, you know, if you're able to get the Landorus in the correct position here. But I do like this idea as well, like a more offensive kind of way of playing it. You already know what Tornadus Urshifu can do, but now you're adding the Ninetales and the Landorus stuff here as well. So like imagine Ninetales Fake Tears with Landorus. That's just gonna remove a lot. Okay, so you can consider it that way. But at the time that I was testing, I was doing like Encore stuff as opposed to Fake Tears. But again, I quickly went back to the Fake Tear stuff. But again, Encore Ninetales is also very, very solid. So if you want to go that direction, you can definitely consider it, right? So let's go ahead. Let's try and test out this team and let's see how it does. Okay, so this one is a hyper-offensive Calyrex team, and he's got a Dragonite there. Why he has Dragonite here on a team like this, I honestly couldn't tell you. But again, Kyurem looks really good here. Like, again, Tornadus, Dragonite, I guess, Rillaboom. Again, 3 ice weaknesses. There is an Urshifu Dark there with a fighting mode that we have to be aware of. But again, with the Assault Vest, we actually match up relatively well into the Calyrex here. So what I want to do already is just lead my own Tornadus against him, right? So, or sorry, my Ninetales, just to try and make him choose. So I'm going to go Kyurem-Ninetales here. If you've got Rain Dance, cool, that's fine. I'm just going to go straight for you. So he goes the Turtle Water Earth. There's the Rain Dance, like we said. He goes straight for the Ninetales, okay? Ninetales drops, but look at this. Now that means you don't click Tailwind and my Freeze Dry just eliminates you, right? So again, now I'm going to go into my Tornadus, and now I'm going to have the speed advantage, right? Because you used your turn to click Rain Dance, no Tailwind for you. So here's my Tailwind. I just want to remove the Ursh here because that's the one that's really threatening the Kyurem. Calyrex goes for Calm Mind. That's not going to do anything, even if you have Draining Kiss. We have the Assault Vest here. There's Dragonite. So goes for E-Speed, doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Again, Bleak Wind Storm, just getting some chip into the Calyrex. Remove the Dragonite. Kyurem looks great here. Goes for another Calm Mind. Again, we do have a Chiyu in the back, which looks great here. Again, Bleak Wind, doing more chip damage. Freeze Dry again, also doing a little bit more damage. Now he goes for the Astral. He'll get the Tornadus, but Kyurem still eats this. Like, this is still like +2 Calyrex. But now we bring in the Chiyu and the game is over, right? He's been chipped so much, and we just already, we're just going to remove the Calyrex, right? So there's the Dark Pulse. He's trying to stall on my Tailwind, but he doesn't know that I'm Scarf. He's going to know now because he saw the Chiyu win first here. But again, there's the Dark Pulse. All of that Calm Minds did not matter because, again, you teared the Ursh and you didn't tear the Calyrex. Alright, so here's the Trick Room matchup, right? So this is where stuff like, the idea of substitute landers can come into play. Also, even the Ninetales setting up screens here and denying, Pelipper Rain, that's also a play. But I'm actually not going to bring the Ninetales here. I actually just want to bring Landers Chiyu, exert a ton of special attack damage pressure, and try and get up my sub here. So I'm going to go Chiyu, I'm going to go Landers here. And I would imagine this is Calyrex, and it was, and there's the instance. So Fake Out Pressure with the Calyrex, pretty standard. So, if he wants to fake out the Landers, great, but I feel like Chiyu's the bigger threat, so I'm just going to Terra the Chiyu here, and he falls for it. And he didn't even Terra the Calyrex to try and go for Trick Room, so I just immediately remove it. So I think you always want to, Terra your Calyrex there, just to, in case cover for the Chiyu Ghost, but we do remove the Calyrex. So I go into Kyurem here, and he goes into Pelipper. This is a very good play by him, right? Because I was going Earth Power into the Incin, so the fact that he goes into the Pelipper there, and then breaks my sub, obviously with the Ursh going for Surging Strikes, is a really good play. So that's really nice. But Kyurem looks great here with Freeze Dry against 2 water types here. Here's my own Ursh. He goes into Incid, and I want to cover for this swap, just in case. So I did go Freeze Dry there. I do get the freeze, which is, great, I guess. But I did want to go Surging Strikes in that slot, just in case he did go for the instant swap there, right? Hurricane actually removes the Urshifu there. So that did a lot. And that's unfortunate for me because Ursh was looking good in that sense. So my opponent is actually playing really well, even though he lost his restricted turn 1. The Pelipper is Sash, so the Dark Pulse is not going to KO him. The Surging Strikes from his other Ursh is, but now again, we just melt him with Freeze Dry and the Ursh is gone, and that's pretty much it. And again, it was Scarf, so I know I always want to target that slot. So now it's just a Pelipper against a Kyurem. I do get some confusion, right? And then he goes for another Hurricane, so he's chipping away here, and he still has some rain to go for him, but I break my confusion and then I just end the Pelipper there. So different story if he potentially goes for the Terra on the Calyrex. But again, what is he forced to Terra to? Like if it's water, then Kyurem looks great, with Freeze Dry potential. And then, after that, Landers could still like do something, because if the Calyrex is on the field, that means the Urshifu is not. So yeah, let me know what you think of this version of the team. But let's go back and recap with both Pokepaste, I guess. So again, I'm gonna put both Pokepaste in the video description here. But again, here's the Blood Moon Ursaluna route with Kyurem-White, along with Throat Spray Farigiraf here, and then here's the Snowscape Tornadus stuff with the Landers. Again, Landers giving you that ground coverage that's needed for ice types that can't hit fire or steel types. And again, you still have your Miraidon matchup with that ground typing, so I think that's also going to be important there. And then Landers also hits Zamazenta for great damage, especially, right? Anytime you can do fake tears or, have the Chiyu on the field, Landers looks really good there as well. So, honestly, I like both teams. I think they, those last 2 slots give you a lot of different ways to play the team. So, do with it with what you will. But I think this is like the best way you can use Kyurem right now. As far as like both versions, do you go the Trick Room route with Blood Moon or do you go Snowscape Tornadus? But yeah, hopefully this was good enough for you guys to, use a viable Kyurem-White team. And again, this is something that you're trying to do yourself and you want to build like a team on your own and you need a little bit of help and team building advice. make sure you sub with the tier 3 sub to the channel. If you look in the video description below, there is a link to join the channel with that tier 3. And then if you look in the comment section, there is a pinned comment where you can click it. And then again, have the option to join the channel with tier 3. And then you can have a one-on-one call with me. We can build a team from scratch, just like what we did here. We test it out. We show you different matchups. And then from there, you get to have the team for whatever reason that you need it for. All right, so that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.